Hey, it's about that time for another Digifora Happy Hour podcast. Welcome to Happy Hour. Cheers, yes. Justin.
Yes, cheers to you. I do think we got to get this later in the day. I also chose a shirt that makes me look like I have some shoulders, because last time we did this, it looked like I had no shoulders. My kids
first,
also picked it up.
Coffee
or tea.
No Kahlua in the coffee. Sorry, viewers, not today.
It's just after lunchtime here, but not happy hour officially, so no caffeine and too early for the other stuff. So
I just drink my coffee until the Chemex is empty. So however high I fill, I just go keep refilling it, and I'm like, oh, coffee time's done. Yeah, I do not abide by morning coffee. It's like all morning coffee.
So speaking of mornings and all that type of stuff, we've talked about on the podcast recently about my sleeping habits. I downloaded a new tool. So most people, I read that 45% of their nightly sleep is in REM. I average about 3%. So that's why I'm always in such a great mood.
I just check my sleeping app to see how often I snore.
Yeah.
It was a quiet night.
Whatever. So
is it working for you?
It is. It's just interesting. It's a new tool. I'm just trying to continue to figure out life and being in my mid 40s and not sleeping and learning. All these tools are out there that give us a lot of great feedback. And so I decided I would start using them a little bit better, figure out my own weird life patterns and why I don't sleep.
So friends and viewers, if you have any recommendations for Justin other than melatonin gummies, please put them in the comments below.
For sure.
Well, speaking of measuring things, that leads us to our topic today is metrics and analytics. Dun, dun, dun.
Fun. Yes.
I know nobody likes talking about this. Nobody even likes really doing it unless you're a mathematician and it's your job, which is very few people, I believe. And so I'm going to start us off with this great quote from Mark Twain. He says, if the metrics you are looking at aren't useful in optimizing your strategy, stop looking at them.
Nice.
And so I think he says it really well in that what you're looking at should be speaking into your strategy, whether it's your marketing strategy, you're specifically looking for a growth strategy in a certain area, look at metrics that will help impact and influence that strategy. I have another quote. I have a few quotes that I grabbed because I'm like, they're all so good. Our audience needs to hear this. And so Ronald Coase says, if you torture the data long enough, it will confess.
Absolutely. That's so good.
I love that one because Digifora specializes in marketing audits. And we take a deep dive into your data and analytics because newsflash, most people don't have time to, because everyone is going forward. They don't want to look backwards to see if they're going forward even in the right direction, which is mind-boggling to me. But you don't have to do it. We'll do it for you. Just hire us to do it. We're happy to take this deep dive. And some of the data we look at, you torture the data long enough, it will confess. It confesses a lot of things.
Sometimes, you have to torture it. It just like you poke it a little bit and you're like, oh my God, like, did you know this? So
I think I tortured myself looking at it.
That definitely happens. But the thing that blows my mind is like at Digifora, and like we're getting really close to your first anniversary celebration. But it's one of those things like we work.
I'll have a real drink on that happy hour.
Absolutely. Well, we work with clients that are like companies that they're not even doing $1 million a year in revenue, with organizations and companies up to like $100 million a year. And so the irony is, of all of those clients, none of them have one person's who their responsibility is analytics. And it's just crazy, mind-boggling to me that, every now and then you'll be like, we'll talk to one of our clients and they'll be like, oh yeah, she looks at them every now and then. And I'm like, oh my God, like,
how do you know why that is though? Now that I think about it, Justin, remember last happy hour podcast, we talked about the plane of your business and the jet engines that fuel that plane and lift it and carry it, sales and marketing. And a lot of these companies cut marketing or they've cut their spending significantly in marketing. So there's no one left to do the data and analytics, which is nuts.
I agree. And I also think it is when they cut, which we see historically they cut marketing and sales teams.
Mm-hmm.
Then they start adding them back with interns. When intern barely knows how to tie their shoes.
Super experienced.
Yeah. I mean, like we were all there, but they barely know how to tie their shoes. And so all they're thinking about is, how do I make it look pretty? And I forget, our friend Todd Atkinson has a saying, and I'll think of it in a second. It's poetry and piping. I think he'll correct me, I'm sure.
Okay.
Everyone wants to focus on the poetry, but no one focuses on the plumbing, is what he says. And plumbing. So, and it's so true. Like, you have to, a good marketer has to be able to focus on the poetry, which is, marketing is poetry. You got to also know that you need to know how to plumb.
You mean these Gen Z interns don't know how to do metrics, but they want to make six figures?
Yeah, the word on the street is we've seen quite a lot of that lately. And you and I have been talking about this for 10 plus years. Like, it's interesting to me what companies allow interns to do, or line level employees. So they move from an internship, they prove themselves, they added value, say, we're going to give you your first job. And you and I's background is, it's no surprise that we work heavily in the church space. And my question was always to churches when you and I were in church spaces was, would you put your intern on a stage on Sunday morning and just let them speak?
Yeah, I love telling church communicators, you wouldn't let your intern write the bulletin, but you let them be the voice of your company on social media every single day, or the voice of your church. That's crazy to me.
It is crazy. But again, you got interns who you want them to have the voice. That's correct. And yet no one's looking at numbers.
So you can't grow what you're not measuring. And this has become all too real for me in this wedding season of planning for a wedding and, I'm shredding for the wedding, dropping some weight. And it just made me think, like, when you gained weight, like most people did during 2020, gained their COVID-19, their 19 pounds.
I wish it was just 19.
There are symptoms of weight gain. Your pants get too tight, you feel fatigued, maybe a little tired, maybe a little bloated, and then it happens. You have to buy clothes in the next size up.
Correct.
And that's when it gets real. You've ignored all the little red flag warnings that you now have to take real action in your current reality. And as I was thinking about that, I was like, wow, that is a perfect picture of companies that don't measure what they're doing. Like, why do businesses let it get to the point of drastic reality? They wouldn't have to if they paid attention to those small little red flag warnings that come up along the way when you're regularly measuring metrics. And so we've seen Google Analytics flatline for several clients in their web traffic. Like, it was up here, and then one day it's down here, and it stayed down there for a long time. And they never knew about it because they were never measuring it. And we've told one client, we were like, okay, like, one day is not that big a deal. Okay, like 1 week, 1 month. But then it became over a year of that flatlining, and nobody checked it. That's crazy to me.
And then they were like, well, I guess that's why our financials have been off for 6 months or 7 months or 8 months. And we're kind of like,
oh, you mean they correlate? Web traffic moves to financials? Come on.
Correct. Like, and it is so bizarre. And like, there's many reasons why we're seeing clients analytics flatline.
What are some of those?
Some of it is they changed content management systems, and they didn't migrate the Google code or the JavaScript or whatever path you want to go to putting Google Analytics on.
Justin, just to clarify, when we say flatline, we mean they've gone from hundreds of visitors or thousands to like 30.
That's correct.
Or 40.
That's correct. We had one client that was seeing thousands of people on their website a day from search traffic, and then it went to 65 or 70 people a day on their website from search traffic.
Yeah, and they're wondering why they're having a down year.
Like, and that's, again, like, to your point, we talked to them about, like, at what point did you see something? And again, classic example of a marketing
See something,
team.
say something.
Yeah, and again, classic example of marketing team that's overstretched and devalued. They're like, we're just trying to tread water, let alone like.
And that's understandable.
Yeah.
Bring along some help though.
Yep.
Hi, we're here to help. Our name is
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, one of the reasons is bad code, not putting the code, not putting on the website. Part of it is getting blacklisted by Google. Thankfully, we've not worked with anyone yet that has had that happen. But in seasons past, I have worked with some nonprofits that actually had to take legal action against Google because Google had blacklisted them, and it fell into what Google decided was hate speech, which was something that was not, I mean, it was actually protected by, anyways, it all came back. Absolutely. It was free speech, and it wasn't even hate speech. It just happened to be that the
speech that Google didn't like.
The person, the human who was sitting manually didn't like them as an organization and flagged them blacklisted. So there's that part.
So blacklisted. What about website migration? So haven't we seen that impact website traffic?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
what happens there?
There's a myriad of things. Again, so the bad code is part of that. Like when they moved to a new content management system, they didn't take the code with them. We've also seen one organization that had the code in Google Tag Manager. So that was driving the code into the website. And then they actually had the code itself sitting inside the content management system. So Google was trying to read it twice, and that was messing up their numbers.
They broke the system.
They're off by like 60%. As soon as we pulled one of the sets of code out, it all right-side. So, and then sometimes it's just, we also see the long tail down, where it just is, it's a slow migration down, which just basically says that your content's horrible, your SEO is failing you, and there's a million things wrong with your website with load time and all that type of stuff. And so
your overall marketing strategy has a problem.
That's correct. That's correct. You know, I get this all the time from our clients. Oh, you're a systems guy. You understand? I'm like, I'm not. I'm just, it just is. I know that, like, I know how serious this is. And so I've been using inside of Google Analytics since 2007. And so it just is. Anyways, you don't have to be a systems or a numbers person. You just need to know where to go and look. And it doesn't even have to be a deep dive. It just can be the high level stuff, just to start looking and let Google tell you what's going on. That being said, if you have a website, if your organization has a website, you have a personal website and you're using Google Analytics, you need to get the new version of Google Analytics set up now, because all your data that you have right this minute goes away a year from July. And so if you don't set up the new system now, from what I understand, you'll have no historical data to go back and look at. You only have once you set up the new version of Google Analytics. So,
so one of the main problems with not capturing your metrics is that red flag anomalies can become trends, which can also become the new normal. And so we just talked about seeing flatlining, people not realizing it. It was a red flag. It was an anomaly. It became a trend because it kept going over the months. And then it just became this new normal they were living in and fighting against, and not knowing what they were fighting against. And so I love teaching when we get to coach clients, teaching our clients that metrics tell a story. You have to find what story they're telling so that you can share that with your leadership when it comes time to it, and you really stand out as the professional in your space. And so it's not just Google Analytics that goes away. We're finding in our audits, we can only go back 2 years now in Facebook metrics because they have a cap, a 2-year cap. Can you imagine? You could have seen all the great engagement and things you were doing since the birth of your Facebook and Instagram accounts, but you can't anymore because Meta has put a cap to those analytics. And so Google Analytics, Facebook, Instagram through Meta, Google, YouTube Analytics are pretty good, I would say. And they tell you a great story. So go in there and capture it. What were you going to say, Justin?
And almost all the platforms allow you to export them out. And so again, another task that should be on someone's to-do list is go and pull out the content. So the analytics so that you have them in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And we understand that metrics and analytics can be very overwhelming. So if you even just need us to hop on a call with you, do some consulting on what you should be looking at, what you should be measuring, we're happy to do that. But unless you know where you've been with your company and your strategies and marketing, an audit is just really the best way to go, I would say. What do you think, Justin?
Absolutely. Because we always need an outside perspective. You know, you and I talk to people about Digifora as frequently as we can, because we know that in and day out, we start missing things and we don't see the red flags always. And so an audit for you as an organization or a company is a great way to let us kind of get underneath the hood, look around, find the things that you may be missing, like we have found for clients, or just confirm what you're already sensing and feeling. I mean, it doesn't always have to be this grand, like, oh my God, here it is. Here's the missing piece. It's no, we knew that. We felt it. Thanks for confirming it.
Right. And I think we don't mean to approach it from a salesy point of view. We're just really excited and eager to step in and help and give that perspective and uncover that story that your metrics might be telling that you don't know how to read because you haven't gone in and looked. And so we just would love to come alongside you, do an audit, help you out there. We're doing some right now. And I think one of my favorite things is just digging deep and seeing like, well, what would we recommend for them moving forward now that we have this knowledge? Absolutely. And so giving people a good direction for the path they should take moving forward.
Yep, absolutely.
Do you have any closing thoughts, Justin?
I mean, yes. Audits are important.
Always.
I have lots of thoughts. Audits are important. Analytics are important. And, you know, if you have a large supply of cash that you just want to throw around, just keep doing what you're doing and never fact check. I mean, it's a great path.
Ooh, that's scary.
Yeah, at some point it's going to fall apart for you. But, you know, the last thought about it, because everyone is hearing us frequently talk about audits, just so that everyone understands, like you and I traditionally the team puts about 120 hours on the baseline, on the baseline into these things. And so it's not something where we hop in for 45 minutes and then send you an invoice. That
would be lovely though.
It would be lovely. It takes us weeks. And by the time we get to the other side of it, we can tell you the story that your analytics are telling you because we've become so aware of it and we're so deep into it with you. So
yeah, that's a good point. How many of your current team members, if you have a marketing team, have 120 hours minimum to dedicate to doing an internal audit? Probably not many.
And none of our clients, because no one's even looking at them, let alone have the time to do an audit. So
oh man. Yeah. Well, cheers to metrics and to finding that story that your strategy is telling on your channels. Oops,